All right, let's break down the latest update to ChatGPT version 5.1. In this explainer, we're going to dig into what's new, what's different, and maybe most importantly, what you should be watching out for.
So this quote from OpenAI, it pretty much sums up the entire 5.1 update. You see, they got a lot of feedback that the old version could feel, well, a little cold and robotic. So the big goal here wasn't just about making it smarter, it was about making it a better conversation partner.
So let's be clear, OpenAI isn't calling this a revolution. It's more of a refinement. Think of it as them taking what already existed and making it smarter, more conversational, and way more customizable. All designed to make your chats feel easier and honestly more effective.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about its new personality. Then we'll dive into the new instant and thinking modes. After that, we'll look at how you can make it yours with customization, check out some powerful new tools for coders, and finally, we'll wrap up with a reality check on its limitations.
All right, first up, let's talk about the change you're going to feel right away, the personality. OpenAI has deliberately made GPT 5.1 warmer by default. The whole idea is to make your conversations feel more natural right from the get-go. Okay, so they say it's warmer, but what does that actually mean in a real conversation? Let's look at a few side-by-side examples to really see the difference.
Just look at this comparison. The old version is helpful, sure, but it reads like a textbook, right? Super clinical. But version 5.1, it leads with empathy. That simple phrase, "I've got you," it completely changes the entire tone. It feels less like a tool and more like a supportive friend.
And this isn't just about being friendlier. It's also about being way more reliable. For example, if you tell it to always respond in 6 words, the old GPT-5 might kind of forget after a bit. But 5.1 sticks to that rule like glue. That improved instruction following is a massive, massive upgrade for anyone doing detailed work.
Okay, this one really nails the difference. Instead of just giving you a formal definition of the spotlight effect, 5.1 talks to you like a real friend would. It validates how you feel, you're rattled, and then gently reframes it. That's a huge shift in approach. All right, let's switch gears and talk about one of the biggest new features, the new dual modes. This really builds on that whole idea of a more responsive, adaptable AI. So they're calling this adaptive reasoning, and it's actually pretty smart. Basically, the model now spends more brain power on the hard stuff. Ask it a simple question, you get a super fast answer. But give it a complex math problem or a coding challenge, and it'll actually take its time to think it through. You get speed when you need it, and depth when you want it.
So on top of the new default personality, OpenAI is handing you the keys. This update is all about moving closer to a truly personalized assistant that talks the way you want it to.
So now you've got this whole menu of preset tones to choose from. If you need a direct, no-fluff answer, you can pick Candid. If you're brainstorming something creative, maybe Quirky is the way to go. It just makes it so much faster to get the AI in the right headspace for your task.
And getting this all set up is super easy. You can go beyond just the presets and actually use these sliders to fine-tune everything. Things like warmth, how formal it is, and yeah, even how many emojis it uses. You can really dial in a personality that just works for you.
Okay, for all you developers and power users out there, listen up, because this is where things get really interesting. There are some major new tools under the hood that make this a seriously capable coding partner.
This apply patch tool is, honestly, it could be a total game changer. Instead of just spitting out a block of code you have to copy and paste, the model can now generate these super precise line-by-line edits. They're called diffs that you can apply directly to your code. It makes big, complex jobs, like refactoring code across a bunch of files, so much more reliable.
And then there's the new shell tool, which takes it all to another level. It basically creates this loop where the AI can suggest a command, your computer runs it, and then the AI gets the result back. This means it can actually do things like inspect files, run tests, and gather data all on its own to figure out a problem. It's a huge step towards more agent-like behavior.
But of course, no new tech is perfect, right? It's really important to talk about the limits here. This update is a huge step forward for sure, but it also raises some pretty big questions we need to think about.
So yeah, these new dev tools are awesome, but for some really specialized jobs, you're still going to want your dedicated tools. It's kind of like having a fantastic multi-tool. It's incredibly useful for a ton of things, but it's not going to completely replace your specialized socket set.
And this kind of brings us to one of the biggest potential pitfalls of this whole update. Making an AI warmer and more human-like is awesome for getting people to use it, but it also walks this really tricky tightrope. How do you make an AI that's enjoyable to talk to without creating unhealthy emotional dependencies? And really, that's the big question this update leaves us all with, isn't it? The technology is amazing, but as it gets better and better at faking a personality, these conversations about safety, about attachment, and about the real role of AI in our lives, they become more critical than ever. It's a challenge we're all going to be figuring out together as this tech keeps evolving.